We're going to talk about the UWI Agritech Expo 2008, which gets underway tomorrow at the UWI field station. We're going to get all the details of the significance, the concerns about feeding ourselves, the food security, all of those issues. It's going to dominate our first hour. Don't forget, we're going across to Tobago with Raymond Edwards and during the Bucco Reef and so on. Lucky so and so. But anyway, he's going to be there for the second hour, and we'll be talking to him very shortly. But the gentlemen you can see on camera, and you can hear them very shortly on Talk City 91.1. Professor Clement Sankat, Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal of UWI St. Augustine Campus. Further from me and closer to me, Professor Diane Narayan Singh, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Agriculture at UWI St. Augustine. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning.
Professor Sankat, let's just lay the groundwork as to what the Agritech Expo is all about.
Yes, thank you. And good morning to our listeners.
And viewers, don't forget.
And viewers, sorry about that. Yeah. The Agritech exposition was planned last year, actually, because this is all part of our 60th anniversary celebrations. The last time I was here with you, I indicated that this is the year when UWI celebrates its 60th anniversary. And it's therefore a time for reflection on what we've done in the past, or accomplishments in the past. But more importantly, it is a time for us to project the future. And this exposition comes at a time when I was just listening to the news, when we are dealing and treating with a global phenomena of increasing food prices that is extremely troubling. This exposition, therefore, could not have come at a better time. It is also a time when I have come in as campus principal, and I would certainly like to give food and agriculture a great deal of emphasis, a great deal of my own time as principal, to ensure that we have a very vibrant School of Agriculture that is supporting the needs of our farmers in particular, in terms of teaching, in terms of research, in terms of extension, so that as a region we are doing much better in terms of trying to produce much more of what we consume. We got to do something different than what we've been doing in the past.
Professor Narayan Singh, just some of the basics regarding the expo, the when, the where. Is it open to the general public and so?
Thank you very much, Fazir. Yes, the exhibition starts tomorrow, Wednesday, the 16th, and continues until Sunday, the 20th. The venue is the University Field Station, and a number of people are not very familiar with the University Field Station. And I want to clarify this because when people see the advertisements, they associate it with the St. Augustine campus.
Yes.
So viewers, the venue is the University Field Station, and it's located between the Nestle factory and the Mount Hope Medical Sciences complex. In fact, it's just opposite to the Arthur Lockjack School.
Yes.
So there's a traffic light there, you bear right, and you go into the University Field Station. So it's very obvious from the highway.
The theme of the expo is experience the new agriculture. When you say new agriculture, what are you talking about exactly? Because people automatically think, okay, you need to have your fork and your hoe and spade and your hose and you plant your little something. But when you say new agriculture, what does that mean?
Okay, to explain that, I think I have to give a bit of a background. You quite rightly said that people, especially in the Caribbean, when they think in terms of agriculture, they think in terms of intensive labor, the hawk, the hoe, the shovel, probably the tractors, etc. And the term new agriculture is now being used internationally. And it comes from the fact that we are now living in what is called a knowledge society, where the knowledge worker working in a knowledge society and in a knowledge economy is critical for any type of development. And because of the poor perception of agriculture in the Caribbean, it's very important for us as an institution to show that agriculture itself can be, a viable profession as any other profession, medicine, law, whatever you have, engineering. And therefore, we are now using the new terminology called agripreneurs, because agriculture itself is a business, and we want this to become part of the psyche of our people. I think this is very critical, the psychological importance of this thing. So when we talk about the new agriculture, we are looking at the use of technology to increase the efficiency of the whole agricultural operation along the whole chain, the value-added chain as we see it. Now, this is a very important. We are not being able to attract people into agriculture. They are attracted to things like science, medicine, law. And therefore, if we can now show the science which drives the agriculture, we are hoping that people will be attracted. Then they begin to see it. Because agriculture now, we talk about what is driving agriculture now is biotechnology. And people will be attracted to biotechnology. So if we can use biotechnology, just as one example, to show how we can increase our yield, etc., I think that people will now, the younger people, will be attracted to this. So what we are doing now is trying to expose to the farmers, everyone in the country, the importance of how technology can result in making this production of food, increased production of food. So that's what we are stressing on today.
But Professor Sankat, if my memory serves me right, you're an agricultural engineer, yes, and we need engineers in agriculture because they will be designing the machines and the irrigation systems and so on and so forth. We need the lawyers who will be negotiating, the trade pacts and all of that for, the selling of the food. And we need all different kinds of people to actually be working in the agricultural industry, don't we?
Yes, and you're absolutely right. And I'm pleased to hear that you remembered that my training was also in agricultural engineering. Yes, and what we have been experiencing at the UWI, and the Dean was alluding to that, as we are in the Faculty of Engineering, a declining interest by young people to get into these professions like agricultural engineering, food production, etc. We need to rekindle that interest. And the only way we can really do that is to show and demonstrate to young people that a profession in agriculture or agricultural engineering vis-a-vis civil engineering or chemical engineering could be just as rewarding, just as profitable. We need to explain to all that the agriculture of today is different from the past. It's not this back-breaking, laborious kind of agriculture. It's agriculture based upon new technologies, very intensive, high production forms of agriculture, high efficiency forms of agriculture. Agriculture that can create the kinds of wealth that young people can aspire to want to get into. It must be equally as profitable as in any other kinds of profession. Okay?
But Professor Narayan Singh, isn't it a case therefore that the academics have failed us in getting that message across about the viability and the profit opportunity and the financial opportunities and the educational opportunities in agriculture? The reason I put this challenge is that there seems to be, and I think history tells us, the history of slavery and indentureship, to a lesser extent probably, means that many people are reluctant, loath to go on the land because of that idea that it's menial, that it's a subservient sort of task. And even today, as Professor Sankat indicated, the numbers are declining. So even if we change the name, with the greatest respect, if you call someone an agripreneur, they might say, well, what's the difference, for example, between a used car and a pre-owned? Is basically the same thing. Are we just rebranding where there needs to be other things done to send that message to the wider educated young populace that agriculture really is a viable opportunity?
Well, you said it at the start, Fazir, that have the educators failed us as a society. I will not say that they have failed us, and I would like to make reference to a very important point to sort of answer your question. If you look at agriculture in United States, Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, etc., you would see something common. That what drives agriculture is the private sector. And if you go deeper into it, you would see that the success of agriculture in those countries depend upon three critical success factors. One, the policy makers. Two, the tertiary level institutions like UWI in this case. And then, of course, the agripreneur. There are clearly defined roles for these three components for driving it. And we as a society need to understand this and the role of each one of these sectors in driving agriculture. I could tell you, in terms of the university or the tertiary level institution, they have three critical roles to play. One, to provide the appropriate human resource, both in terms of numbers and skills and competencies required for development of the region, whether it be agriculture in any other area. The second role for us as an institution is that we need to find solutions to problems, the problems being confronted by the farmers. And the third important point, that we are supposed to be involved in research, development, and innovation to keep our farmers at the cutting edge and also keep them one step ahead. And this could apply to any sector of your community.
But
Right?
but you know, it has been said time and time again that our farmers seem a bit resistant to wanting to try new ways of doing things. Not all of them are interested in the biological ways of controlling pests and you know, that may affect their crops. They rather lean heavily on the chemicals, which are bad for, well, one, for the environment, and two, for people, because we eventually ingest it. When your faculty comes up with all of these interesting, you know, bioengineering results in terms of crops, the farmers may not be so excited about trying what you've discovered. How do you bridge that gap? How do you cross that divide and get them to understand that this is the future? This is going to ensure sustainability and viability.
Well, the answer to that really has to be education. And that's where, in fact, I had not completely developed the point.
Sure.
Because the other sector there, the policymakers and the farmers, we have to work closely. Our extension unit at the university must be able to take the research, development, and innovation to the field. And how do we do that effectively? We need to ensure that the policymakers work closely with, let's say in this case, the Ministry of Agriculture, with the extension workers, working closely with us and the farmers to bring about that realization. Because, again, we are saying what is happening in the new agriculture requires a certain amount of basic knowledge that the farmer must possess. You cannot talk about greenhouse technology and simply use your previous knowledge. You have to have this new knowledge. So we have a very critical role to play, but you see, the university, looking at this role, cannot do it by itself. We need the private sector, public sector, tertiary level institution partnership, working in sync and holistically. And I think this is the crux of the problem in agriculture. We are all operating separately at the moment.
Professor Sankat, we just have about 90 seconds before we pause for the latest at the bottom of the hour. And we have a couple more guests coming in to talk about the Agritech Expo. But if you could put it in a nutshell, as concise as you can, how this Expo can actually achieve part of the goal of getting people more interested in agriculture.
Well, my hope is that this exposition would allow young people of Trinidad and Tobago, particularly the school children, and I know the Dean is targeting a lot of the secondary schools, to show and demonstrate to them that the agriculture that we are talking about today is different from the agriculture in the past. That the agriculture and the food production systems that we are going to show them are high intensity forms of production that can result in better returns to the farmer. And just to respond to the question that Jesse posed, farmers will respond to rates of returns. If we were to demonstrate to them that by doing it this way, you can get a better return in terms of income, they will respond. Farmers respond in terms of income. It's absolutely important.
Dollars and cents, always the bottom line. Professor Sankat and Professor Narayan Singh, thanks a lot for coming. And we're going to continue this discussion with two other gentlemen on the whole question of the Agritech Expo 2008 at the UE Field Station. We've got to pause for the latest at the bottom of the hour.
First up, the first stop in your busy day.